What do they say? During an emergency, avoid using the elevator. I had a gun in my hand and some scotch in my belly. I was about to see if I was really cut out for this line of work. Some local cops were trying to intervene. I hoped it wasn't the kind of intervention that ended with the rich guy dead. Much later, I'd find out that one rich Brazilian lady's scream sounded like another. I guess I was the only one who thought we still had a chance to get Bronco back. Either that, or I was trying to commit suicide courtesy of some Brazilian kidnappers. Why wasn't I moving? Why couldn't I figure this out? I knew I was too burnt out for this kind of work. I hoped something had slowed them down enough for me to pull one last stupid move. One sad old man staggering around an empty party. This was all too familiar. What the hell was I doing? How had this gone so wrong so quickly? Even with mine and Passos' phenomenal track record at screwing up, this was looking like a new personal best. I guess I'd finally made it to the gym. No, I'm not even slightly all right. You really missold me on this job. I'm not really in the mood for a pep talk. Can't wait to explain this one to Mr. Bronco. I'm guessing Saturday's game is gonna be canceled. You're too kind. How many of these bastards are there? The kidnappers seemed even more spooked than us. If this was some setup to get more money out of Rodrigo, they were just a bunch of fall guys. Maybe we all were. Yeah, really has that sacred feel about it. I think you'll find he's gonna have problems answering back. You got me, guys. Let's work this out. That was the way. It'd be as good a place to die as any other. Shit! I guess I'm an easy date. I just met the guy and I was following him home. Passos! Passos! Are you there? Let's talk this out like men. I got my back to the wall here. What do you want from me? Back down! We got nothing against you! Of all the dumb moves. Get out of our way! Put them down! Let us walk! There was nothing waiting outside for us but near certain death. Tell your boss it came down to bad parenting. It looked like the kind of building you needed a crack habit to walk into. But right then, I couldn't be fussy about addictions. Just give it a rest! I'm not gonna think twice about going through you! Move out or get moved! Dead bodies in the snow. Something I was too familiar with. I don't think we're gonna get along. They weren't coming from behind us. In front of us, the side of us, on top of us. Those were the directions I was worried about. Hell, where was the nearest manhole? Once I got into the snow, I wouldn't be complaining about the heat. We'll go on all night if we have to. You got your plans, we got ours. I always liked that guy. Made me feel somewhat normal. Where did these guys come from? What's the bet? Me and you are the only guys with concealed carry permits here. I got these fools. We aren't all gonna leave here, friends. They didn't bring all these guys down here to make friendly. Something tells me they've been expecting us. Maybe all I wanted was to be understood by somebody at that point in my life. What have you been doing the last hour? I'm thinking I might be better off as one of your clients than an employee. If by that you mean I'm on one side and the rest of the world's on the other, you might be right. It felt like there was already a kind of understanding between me and Passos. All this for a washed-up cop? Like a thief in the night. Or a guy on the run from a death squad. Oh, man. I hope the old man thinks it's worth it. If you're ever doing pro bono, give me a call. This what it's like for you at the office? Now I'm wishing we were upstairs again. Least we'll die on firm ground. I don't function so good in the heat. Maybe I was imagining it. Little late to the table, huh? The boss don't care about you. Why do you care about his brat? Why don't DeMarco do his own dirty work? Get off my roof! Enough already! Ain't you got somewhere to be? Please! Of all the bars in all the towns. Shit. Seemed like everything was falling out from under me at that moment. Mi casa is su casa and all that. Anyone want to come in for a drink? I got scotch. Least you could have done was knock. The big slab of meat on the boat was clearly the boss. Sabinete, they called him. I'd seen enough to know that Carolina was at least alive, if not exactly well. Made me think Serrano was buying time for an escape, and paying with bodies. My conscience couldn't take much more of this, and my attempts at obliterating it weren't working too well. And it seemed that our suspicions were correct. Carolina was here, somewhere further ahead. There'd been a bunch of guys here. Before they weren't. At least Fabiano was being eaten by mosquitoes instead of caimans. I might just bring her home. My eyes stung, my throat burned, and my skin felt like it was about to bubble into pork rinds. Someone, somewhere would be held accountable. For the curly-haired techie who died a long way from home, for the hard-working secretary. Jesus. That was about the last thing I needed. I'd managed to profoundly screw up all my bodyguarding attempts. I hadn't saved anyone. And now it'd be a miracle if I could save myself. I'd made detective, hadn't I? I was more comfortable with the shooting things line of police work. I'd either stumbled into a Vegas skin show, or the place was burning down. The smoke stung my eyes and burned my lungs. This was no skin show. Something told me it was time to leave. Things weren't gonna cheer up in there anytime soon. I didn't want to be another charred corpse with his tongue hanging out and his hands to his throat. I'd seen my share of fire deaths on the force. That familiar sense of futility was starting to set in, like fate having another real good laugh at my expense. If I couldn't even save the people who mattered, how the hell was I supposed to save some people who didn't? The locals were battening down the hatches. They knew a storm was coming. It looked like the morale of the troops was in decline. Made me think the ride might get easier from here. What dumb fool thinking that was. Passos was up. I could sit back and enjoy a front row seat at his execution, or I could get on stage quick. I had bought some time, but credit was running out. I had to act before the final foreclosure. Passos was the bodyguard, but I'd spent most of my time saving his ass. Guess that's what made me think I could do any job he was offering with a gun in one hand and a scotch in the other. I didn't want to turn my back on those killers. You turn your back, you lose control of the situation. You face things head on. At least it's on your terms. For a second, I thought they had Marcello, but it was some other poor sap who should have known when to stay home. The cops didn't seem too concerned with meeting their arrest quotas. Well, it was time to move on before I gave the old woman a heart attack. There it was in the distance, the other Sao Paulo, the Broncos world. Equality came when they least expected it. My send the pregnant girl on ahead plan clearly wasn't working. We had to stick together, locked. And there was still the small matter of the traumatized girl sobbing behind the trash can.
What happened with Marcello? What happened back there? Let's see about the others before we call ourselves lucky.
While I'd been dead to the world, some of my shipmates were just plain dead. My Spanish was about the same as my Portuguese. Non-existent. The lock gates were closing. But with the engines out, we weren't going far. There was some hardware more suited to long-range combat in the truck next to me. It sounded like they might be searching the ship. Far as I knew, there was only me to find. Hello, old friend. I needed to find a way upstairs. Surely nobody would notice another hole in the wall. Either there was a switch to those doors somewhere, or I was in a whole heap of shit. Well, I'd helped start this riot. Least I could do was have the good manners to join in. If I didn't do something soon, I was going to be crying myself to a very long sleep. This was turning into a busy night for the glorious 55th Precinct, and one they had coming for a while. More goddamn security doors.
Someone ordered smoked ham?
I'd raised the curtain on another shoddy production of Try to Kill the Asshole. I was just about to put this guy out of his misery when he saved me the effort. I guess I am gonna die in the dark.
You trying to smoke me out? Turn the lights on. There's someone in here.
I can't see shit.
Fuck, you cocksuckers.
I could unpack some cases and sniff panties to my heart's content.
What the fuck?
Or I could get out there and follow through with the plan. There was a power button on the console, asshole.